everybody wants Chris Paul to get that ring right now. Like that's what it is right now. Like that's
I
the juice. Yeah, I mean, like if he wins it, I'm happy for him. If he don't, I feel like Chris Paul's legacy can't be ruined to me. Like he's Chris Paul. You know what I'm saying? But if he wins it, that's good. I think Trey probably has the most attention garnered. I think the biggest story is Chris Paul in the Phoenix, but I think Trey has been like the biggest surprise for everybody. I mean, like basketball watchers, we know Trey has been growing. He was kind of quiet this year, but he was getting his game together. He was putting up numbers still, but I would have to agree. Trey was probably the biggest story. I mean, the biggest surprise of these playoffs, more than anything.
I definitely think he's the biggest surprise because he's still new to the game. So he, and then also being that this is their first time, in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
The fact that they changed coaches halfway through this season, pretty much, and I can't be mad that it's a black coach. So we got to go with that fact too. So, I think that he doesn't. He pulls the heart out of them because in the last game versus the Bucks just kind of ran away with it, but he pulls the heart out of that team. He's like, all right, this one's down. We got to shake it off and get to the next one. But y'all know how I feel about Chris Paul. Like, I need him to get a ring because.
Why do you need him?
Because 16 years in the NBA. How many different teams? I mean, he still goes out and gives the same leadership, the same energy, the same, like, most people after 16 years can easily dwindle and be like, all right, I'm going to get it. All right, it's whatever. He's still
a role player
with the same heart. You know what I mean? So, like I said, he's my 2021 Allen Iverson. Like, Allen Iverson's legacy is not going to be tarnished. You can't fake it. He still had an impact on the game, but he did not get a ring. And I think he left too soon for me before he got a ring, because I felt like he also deserved to get a ring, right? That's where I'm going at with Chris Paul. I'm like, you got to get a ring. Like, you can't do me like that again. I can't have another point guard that I admire and the game handle and the hustle and the heart and the influence and the leadership go out without a ring. Trae Young is going to be here for a while. Like, I don't see him going anywhere. I think the story's great. I think this is a Cinderella season for anybody, right? No matter who makes it at this point, because they all need to get a ring. That's what I call it, by the way. It's the Cinderella season. Because somebody's going to walk away with the ring and a glass slipper. So let's figure out who's going to get it. But I don't know. I'm like rah Chris Paul right now. Yeah, without a doubt. I think that if he continues down the right path of with the right coaching system and development and under the right leadership, he already has his own leadership, which that is a star quality in itself, because you could be a fantastic basketball player, but if you don't have leadership and you can't command a team to excellence, it's going to be hard for you to win a championship. It's really going to be hard for you to win a championship. But I think that he just needs to stay with his development, because he can be a little wild child. When he gets emotional, you can see where it comes out. He gets upset, he gets frustrated. And that's a double-edged sword, because if you're going to be a leader, you also have to find that leaders have followers. So your team is going to follow your energy, right? You come out with great energy, your team is there with you. You start to dwindle in that energy, your team is going to start to dwindle in that energy too. So I just think that he needs to stay with really good, solid development. And superstar, no doubt.
I disagree. He's not a superstar. He's a star. He doesn't have the cachet yet of a superstar. There's levels to that stardom. He's up and rising. He's up and coming. But he's a star right now. He's not a superstar. You got many stars in the league.
Could be a
superstar. Nah, he wouldn't be. I wouldn't call him a superstar.
No, not at the moment. No. Yeah. He could be, definitely.
Yeah, he has potential to be a superstar.
Yeah, he could be, but not
he's a star
today.
I mean, that's the thing. You got really right now. I would honestly say there's only one superstar left in the play. Well, two superstars left in the playoffs. That's Chris Paul and Giannis. That's really pretty much it.
Is Giannis a superstar though?
Yes. When teams sign your brother just to hopes to sign you, you're a superstar.
No, that just means we don't want you to leave.
The Knicks were trying to sign his other brother. Look. When people are gonna sign your brother to play with you, like that means you're a superstar level. That you reached a level. Listen, they're not gonna bother if you're not a superstar.
I mean, listen, I want Giannis to be a superstar. Like, I really honestly do, because I think that he has great potential. I think that, he's just not consistent enough for me to be like, you're a superstar yet. I need consistency. Like, I'm not gonna call you a superstar. I'm gonna need consistency. Like, you can't be a superstar out on tour and be like, yo, I'm gonna rock Madison Square Garden, but when I get to the Staples Center, my show is gonna be trash. Like, you can't do that. I need Beyonce superstardom every single show. If I go see Beyonce in Philly tomorrow, that show is gonna be off the chain. If I go see Beyonce in Canada, that show is gonna be off the chain. That's my level of like, okay, you're a superstar. He's a franchise player. The Bucks can't afford to lose him.
In my eyes, superstar is different things. So to be a superstar, you have to have the bankroll. So you got to get paid top to be a superstar. You got to have, you got to command an audience. You got to have an attention. Like, you got to have a following. You got to have a high number of following. You got to have, you can't just be an average person that has a lot of followers. You got to be LeBron level, Kobe level. He's a superstar, Steph Curry level. Superstars, Kawhi Leonard level. These are people who are debated you could turn on ESPN at any moment, they'll be debating these guys. Why? They're superstars of the game. There's certain cachets that come along with it. You garner a certain amount of level. You can be a star in the game, but to reach that superstar level, to me, there's certain checks you got to hit on the box. That's why I can't call Carmelo.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think Chris Paul is a superstar, or is he a star?
Chris Paul is a superstar.
He has one of the worst contracts in the NBA right now.
He's declining his contract of $45 million next year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are you talking about bankroll? Like, one of the worst contracts right now.
He had a contract of $45 million that he's declining. That's superstar status.
In his career, he wanted to be more defensive minded, but the way the game is today, he along with Nate McMillan know they got to play faster.
Ooh, a nice finish with the left hand by Joel Embiid. Coming off a 20-point game in game one of this series. Embiid backing Capella down. Now the fadeaway is true.
Well, that's what a 7-foot Joel Embiid coming downhill at you make you do. Make you think about it and lose the ball sometimes. And Bogdanovich and right back at him.
Embiid, now he's going to work. And Embiid returns a favor. And they're right back on their feet again.
He a gold star too.
Yeah,
I'm okay with giving out gold stars. You want to just give them stars?
I mean, I don't care the color of the star. He's still a star. You know what I'm saying? The color of the star don't matter to me. Silver, gold, bronze.
Because if your teacher gave you a red star and your classmate got a gold star, you're gonna look at your teacher like, nah, B, we got the same grade. Like, what you talking about?
I mean, I think that begs a bigger question. Do we consider Ben Simmons to be even a star at this point?
Listen, I don't give nobody in NBA under a star quality. Okay? Because a star quality.
Before we go, something's bugging me. No, before you continue, something's bugging me. You need to answer this question. Do you consider Alfred Payton a star? We're not getting past this yet.
I answered that question.
No, you did not. You got to answer that question. Do you consider Alfred Payton a star? I need to know.
I answered that question. I said anybody who made it to the NBA is considered a star to me.
Yo, we're gonna have to check your basketball acumen at this. You just called Alfred Payton a star. Alfred Payton.
Now listen, whether you can maintain that star quality is totally different. Okay?
You can't even keep a straight face right now. You know you don't consider Alfred Payton no star.
All right, there's exceptions to the rules, okay? Like
Ben Simmons. Philly. Ben Simmons.
Yeah. He had an opportunity to play like a star.
Mm-hmm.
Like my fellow colleague here likes to go on saying he's a star. He had an opportunity to play like a star. He really did. And I felt like he pass dropped the ball. I felt like he left the ball in practice.
Yeah, I agree. I can't even say Brooklyn is a disappointment. They had injuries. And I mean, when you don't play they play what, 12, 14 games together, like throughout the year, the big three. So like, how could you even consider them like realistically, but like injuries was going to happen. They got beat up on the bug. You expected that. I expected it. I was not. I told you, I wanted Brooklyn to lose. I was pretty much happy with them losing. I didn't. So that was not disappointing.
Yeah, you put a little whammy on Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie put a whammy on himself. He's a flat earther, man. What do you expect, bro? I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, what do you expect when you want to load management on a half of a season?
Yeah. Most of the year, all of them are out.
You were out on injury, and then you want to load manage for the other half. I mean, it's basically like a half season. Like it was already. You really didn't have a lot of rest time to start with, right? Then you were hurt, so then you had to come back from that. That takes therapy, and then you picked and chose what games you wanted to play based on how you felt that day when you woke up in the morning. So
the Lakers limped into the playoffs. So I mean, expectations are already low. The Lakers limped. They limped into the playoffs. Like literally, they crawled and limped their way in there. Brooklyn, like everybody focused on Kyrie. My biggest, I think, the biggest impact was James Harden. Like once again, James Harden proves time and time again, and I'm not even a great James Harden fan, but you got to give respect where it's due with the guy. Listen, he kept that team in order. The fact that he didn't have his ability to get any push off that leg, or he just didn't trust it with his injury, I think hurt them more. You know what I'm saying? Kyrie plays ISO ball. Like Kyrie is good for a guy that knows how to manage Kyrie in the game. That's why he worked for LeBron. That's why I guess at some point it was working with Harden. And when you have a guy who knows how to manage a game and they can feed Kyrie, they'll just make Kyrie look great. If you put Kyrie on a team with a bunch of nobodies, Kyrie will just make himself look great. Kyrie doesn't make teams better. You know what I'm saying? Unless they know how to utilize Kyrie to make teams better. So I think Kyrie hurt was one thing that hurt them, but the biggest part was James Harden's inability to be himself. He was at 100%. They could have got past Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, I think that whole team in general is a big disappointment, only because they felt like they walked into the NBA Finals with already the fact that they were going to win this. They walked in like, you can't outscore us, right? You can't. What are you going to do? We're, early off in the playoffs, they're scoring 104 between the three of them. So they're like, you can't do anything, not taking into consideration that you really haven't played together much, not taking into consideration that every last one of y'all is basically accident prone at this point.
Yeah.
And then also not taking into consideration that these teams are out to get you. Like, you're not walking in here about to bulldoze over anybody. Like another reason why I call the Cinderella story is because every team that got to the point where they are right now played through hustle, through heart, through their own personal injuries. Like, they weren't just gonna walk in and be like, it's owed to us. And I felt like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden walked into this finals like it was owed to them, and they were gonna win. Look at that last shot that freaking Kevin Durant took.
Facts. That's a fact.
You should have passed that ball. Why would you take that shot?
What effectiveness?
Yeah, on what?
I mean, Kyrie basically dismissed him at the beginning of the year, saying we don't need a coach.
Well,
I mean, if you figure, as much as they haven't been playing together, they should have had enough guys in rotation that had experience throughout the year for Steve Nash to kind of pull it together with. I mean, no disrespect to Steve Nash as a player, no disrespect to him as a coach, but I just don't see why he got the job in the first place. I think Brooklyn is more about culture than they are about winning. They want to win, but they're more about culture. My friend said it best. They throw a couple of Basquiat pictures in the stadium, and they, Jay-Z influence, and they just thinking like Brooklyn. They just going to take on this whole thing. I mean, I think they want that gritty 90s Brooklyn culture, but they're really getting that yuppie Brooklyn culture that's coming along with it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, have you been to the Barclays Center lately? Because I mean, you walk out the Barclays and you're not seeing gritty Brooklyn.
Nah,
right? Like you're not seeing like when people used to take that stop to Atlantic, it was like, wait, you sure I gotta get off here?
Word.
We making sure like I'm you know what? I'm not gonna get off. I'm gonna get off on the next stop. Now everybody's happy to get off at Atlantic. That's the stop.
They need more defenders, and losing Spencer Dinwiddie hurt them more than people realize. I'm interested to see where he goes next year. He declined his contract, Spencer Dinwiddie, so I want to see what happens to him. I like that guy. He plays really well. I think that hurt. If they had him, even maybe it would have been a difference. But defensively, they're just poor. Like, if your shots ain't dropping, you got to be able to stop people. And they just don't focus on that. They don't care about that. Everybody on that team is essentially just there to score points and enjoy it. Like I said, they just have a culture. They have names put together, but they don't have that. None of their guys are proven leaders. You know what I'm saying? In that sense, where they can actually, when the rubber hits the road, you know what I'm saying, they can make things happen. I mean, their best player is KD. No disrespect to KD, stud, superstar. He's that. You know what I'm saying? But he's not LeBron. So, Colleen, my question, now we don't understand social media. What about media? Do you think the media baits LeBron? And do you think he should do a better job of not falling for the bait?
I think that they definitely do bait him because he's 36. He's been in the media since, we'll give him on a minimum of 18. And he's very outspoken. Now, my personal take is you need to hire a new PR person because your PR person should not be letting you talk about everything and anything. You have to really understand what benefits you and your family versus what people will want to say. That's what the media is there for. They're there to get a story. So they're gonna ask controversial questions. They're gonna ask nonsense questions. How many times has like Russell Westbrook been like, really, you gonna ask that stupid question? He flat out said that to the media. So I think they bait him, and what he needs to do is just realize like you are allowed to say no comment.
Yeah, that's true.
There's nothing wrong with you saying no comment.
I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to, I think it's more than that with LeBron. I think him and like the NBA, or if you want to say powers that be or whoever that really makes the decisions with him, I think he has like a pass. So I think like LeBron, like where other players can't be as vocal, where they'll get that kind of lashing back, or they'll get like fined or sued, or they'll see some kind of response to it. I think LeBron is he's invited for that, and with him being invited for that, I think he takes advantage. I think the only thing that's a big issue with him is he doesn't. I don't think he's fully educated in everything that he starts talking about. So I think that's a big thing with him. I think he gets baited in, and then from there he's kind of just talking, and some of it might be emotional. Some he might have looked up. I don't know everything he does, but I think one thing I have a problem with is his ability to like Michael Jordan didn't say much. He sells his product. He did what he had to do. A lot of people have negative views about Michael Jordan with that. But at the end of the day, when you're selling yourself as a product or you're selling product, you don't really want to take sides. Like it's a famous thing. People talk about Michael Jordan. They're like, how come you don't talk about Republicans, whatever? He goes, Republicans buy sneakers too. You know what I'm saying? Which I mean, in that sense is valuable. You know what I'm saying? I think LeBron has a right to speak as well as all athletes, but just like anything, when you open your mouth, you got to take the consequences that come with it too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's two sides to the coin, right? One, you have a person that goes into work every day and they could be making, $80 million a year. And that's their job. They're going to go to their job. It doesn't matter if the management is terrible. It doesn't matter if the company has bad reviews. They're going to go in, they're going to do their job. They're super focused because they want to make money.
True.
Then you have other people who are like, I don't care if I'm only making $20 million a year. I can't stay here. I can't do this. I can't sit here and watch the injustices of the world because I just want to make money, right? I think that's the level of play between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. LeBron James sees himself as a role model. You can't tell him different. Like he sees himself as a Black man in society first.
True.
Basketball is great. Movies are great, but I'm a Black father first. Michael Jordan is a businessman. He's about his business. He sees his way of helping his kids through the financial aspect. So he's like, well, I can't really support you and give you what you want based on the things I've never had if I don't do this path and continue to make money. Yeah. Now we're in two different eras too. LeBron, this is a social media society. Like they're giving him more they're giving people in general more free form to say whatever they want to say.
There's still consequence though.
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer in if you say it, you gotta live with the consequences.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, you gotta find out who your PR person is because they need to be like, nope, take that down, remove that from social media immediately, get it out of here.
He did take that one comment down when they about the Eric Chauvin case with the George Floyd, and he had put a tweet out about like it was like one down, how many ever more to go or whatever. And then he deleted that, but people already took pictures of it already, screenshot it and everything. So and once it's on the internet, it's not really going away at that point, especially in his caliber. So, but no, okay. So here's my thing, right? And agreeing with what you're saying, but I also feel with LeBron James and anybody that's an influencer, a celebrity, or anything like that, you have a platform that normal people don't have. People will listen to you, So with that, you have to be very mindful of the decisions that you make.
Yeah.
You can't be just talking loosely, that was probably one of the biggest things I had with Kaepernick. You know what I'm saying? We can get into him in a little bit, but that's kind of the things I had with him. LeBron James, I don't have a problem with LeBron overall talking. I have friends who will argue back and forth. Some make the case that he needs to be quiet more, not to shut up and dribble, but along those lines. And others that say, he has a right, anything along the lines that he can say what he wants, and he has the, like he's like godsend, so it goes both ways, and I kind of just sit in the middle. I kind of weigh it out, and I do wish he would talk less. I do wish that from LeBron. I think when it isn't time for him to talk, that's cool. But I'm from an era where I remember literally when like the Grammys or something came on TV and like a star or a celebrity got up and started talking about like national issues or something. Everybody kind of yawned at him like, why are we listening to you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need you up here, like, trying to get like sympathy points and all this other stuff. Like, we have scientists and doctors and people who have positions that we listen to that, have this kind of information. Like, why are we listening to you all of a sudden pushing the propaganda? So I'm kind of from that era. So I still kind of get annoyed anytime a celebrity's trying to tell me how to feel about something. And it's just like, I'll decide how I feel. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But it kind of works the same way because we're putting them into a category, right? We're saying they're a celebrity. They shouldn't have an opinion. Why are you talking about political views?
Exactly.
We're removing them from, societal boxes. And we shouldn't do that because
Yes, we should.
No, why? They still have to vote. They still have to pay taxes.
They don't live the same life we live. They don't live the same life we live.
But that's a choice. That's a choice. That's not something like I feel like we got to go back into like Peasantville, where like you're born into like being a celebrity or something. Like I wasn't born to be a I don't know, a farmer, right? So, but that's the choice. That's what the choices that we have to make. Doctors are doctors because they paid for a degree. Those books, that knowledge, that education is free to everybody. You can go to the same bookstore that a doctor went to read on the same book that he learned from. You're just not paying $50,000 a year to go to the school that he went to. Knowledge is free. They're just paying you to have a title on the end of your name, right? If you want a PhD, you got to pay for it. You want a master's, you got to pay for it. So my whole thing is, I agree with the fact that you need to learn more before you start to speak. And I think that's a societal thing. Like we need to educate ourselves before we start to speak on issues that we know nothing about. But I'm not going to have somebody be silenced because they're making $80 million a year. Why? Like, it's my choice if I want to listen to this person, right? And not for nothing, we had a president that made millions of dollars, millions of dollars in business. People followed him. People listened to him. People, you know what I mean? I chose not to listen to him. I was like, okay,
I voted Trump.
Sound a little crazy, but whatever. But again, that's my choice not to listen to him because I can put him in the same boat. You're a businessman. Why am I listening to something you're telling me that doesn't make sense to me? We all have choices to listen to whoever we want to listen to. But I'm not going to be like, okay, you need to shut up now. You need to be quiet now. Because at the end of the day, whether he paid his taxes or not, he has an opinion. So speak on it. We put you in that position, right? Speak on it. Speak your piece. But me as individual, I either listen or I don't listen. That's how,
Now, I respect your point that I'm not trying to shut LeBron down, and I don't think anybody should try to shut him down. So if I made that point, I apologize. That was definitely not the point I'm making. What I will say is this: you're right. They can go ahead and speak, but and everything you said has very valid points. You still don't take your car to get fixed to a doctor. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you don't go to a mechanic and ask for advice on clothes to buy. Like, at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. We have choices and we make our professions those choices. He made a choice to be a basketball player. God bless him. You know what I'm saying? He provides us with great entertainment, but it's that entertainment. You know what I'm saying? And you're right. You have a choice to just listen or not. If you choose to listen to him, that's up to you. If you choose not to, that's up to you. I feel most people are very impressionable. As a matter of fact, it's just a human trait. We're impressionable. A lot of people think they think for themselves and they don't think for themselves. And even with the point with Trump, you're right. Trump made millions of dollars, but he did become a president. You know what I'm saying? So,
with no political background, by the way.
That's fine. I mean, that's why most people voted for him, though. But that's why most people voted for him, because he had no political background.
Because we don't want to listen to politicians anymore.
Because they lie. Yes, exactly. And we're dealing with that again right now. We're back to the lies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we love it. Love it.
That's where we at. We're like, oh, let's try this, see if it works, right? I don't know.
You know what I mean? But LeBron, I give LeBron a pass. And I think LeBron should be allowed to speak. I just, like you said, he just needs somebody in his corner to probably steer his direction a little bit more. But I think a lot of that is pressured from NBA execs. Look at that situation in China. He got into that whole situation with China and the whole discussion. I think it was the Houston owners had made a comment first about what was going on in China, which was in reference to the Chinese people. You know what I'm saying? Liberating the Chinese people, giving them that kind of support. And then LeBron turns around and makes a comment saying he shouldn't be talking unless he knows what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. find interested now. He's just all up in social justice arms when it comes to Black people or America or whatever. I feel like a part of it is not all, and here's a problem with celebrities. I feel like it's not always about what's best for the people, what's best for their pockets. You know what I'm saying? And celebrities have a real tendency to have that knock out the ladder mentality. Once they get to the top, they knock the ladder down behind you. You know what I'm saying? So I don't trust what they say, because for them it's more than just a crying on a TV screen and trying to plead a case. There's monetary value with them.
Yeah, well, I think some of them definitely. I think some of them are approached to be like, how do you want to handle this? For our organization, we don't want to come off as racist or discriminatory, or we don't care about social injustice. Because look at the whole this season and last season, Black Lives Matter jerseys with the NBA. Social injustice on the back of the shirts. They have a collective team that goes in and talks about ways. Now, I think some of it is definitely pinpointed for an organization to reach a majority of people at this point. And right now it happens to be the Black culture. So how can we reach out to the Black culture, right? And then the other part of it, I think, makes sense because you want to continue to try to figure out a way to make sure that everyone has a comfortable working environment, right? Like, I don't want to go to work. It's still my business. I don't want to go to work and feel uncomfortable. It's funny, though, how the NBA turned this whole thing into a Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff. And you can tell for me, I can't tell for you, but for me, I felt like it definitely was just a way to advertise and to sell tickets and to get more views. Because if you go back to when Chris Paul was on the Clippers and the Clippers owner said what he said, why wasn't that turned into, he was just like, oh, I'm out, peace. And the NBA went right back to what the NBA is, right?
For the record, we did Donald Sterling wrong. For the record, I cut you off. We did Donald Sterling wrong.
But where was your rah, he said these comments? Like, it was like, well, he said this, we feel this, back to regular scheduled programming. So
monetary value.
Yeah, and now it's monetary value because everybody's, pro Black Lives Matter at this point.
Man, I want to say this before I move on. I really don't like what Black people are doing. I feel like we don't realize it, but we're like the babies in the room crying, and every other culture is just like, okay, how do we appease the Black people before they start acting up again? Like it's to the point, like, I used to make fun of Jewish people. Like, these cats always keep crying about something and they get more money. You know what I'm saying? Just this country's giving them money. That country's giving them money. Just keep giving Jewish people money. The people who didn't even have anything to do with the Holocaust, just keep giving Jewish people money. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, huh? But now we're sitting here and Black people, and we think like we can follow this kind of card and just sit there and just be in this whole, our bag of feelings every 5 seconds. Like, everybody wants to keep talking about systematic racism and go back to slavery. You can't link slavery to systematic racism. They're two different things, very important, but you can't link them the same. And I really feel like Black people are just in this point now where anybody can just get up on a TV screen and just be like, oh, racism. And Black people are just going to jump up and go, yeah. And I'm just like, oh, come on, man. Can we just be a little bit more critical about this? Like, that's just where I'm really at. Like, I know I kind of had like a rant moment there, but that's just really where I'm at with that. And it kind of drives me crazy. That's why I'm not mad at Labron. Kaepernick's the one I really got a problem with. Let's transition to Kaepernick. That guy. He's a prime example of monetizing himself on social justice. And back when it happened, everybody used to call me all kind of Uncle Toms and coons, and everybody used to run their mouth. And I laugh people to call me Uncle Tom because I'm like, you never read the book Uncle Tom, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Because you should be trying to call me a Sambo. But since you want to call me Uncle Tom, I'll sit here and laugh at you. Like, it's fun, But, with Kaepernick, like, this dude really sat there and like he gets me so infuriated. Like, oh my God, I can go on him for like hours. Like, he gets my blood boiled. Like, I tell people all the time, he wasn't the only person that was kneeling. You know what I'm saying? It was a bunch of other people that was kneeling. And guess what? They all still played. until they retired, but most of them still get to play. You know what I'm saying? Why was Kaepernick out? Because Kaepernick did the most. You know what I'm saying? He took a moment and he riled people up. And the one thing that got me so upset was he pulled out the worst in both sides. He pulled out the worst in white people. He pulled out the worst in black people. The first sign for Kaepernick to me that he was full of it and he was all in it for the media and for the game was when he declined his player extension. He had a 1-year extension on his contract for another year with San Francisco. It was like $15 million. You know what I'm saying? He's on a decline in his career. You don't decline that money. Now you want to claim social injustice. Okay, you sit there, you take that money, you make them cut you, and then you can cite, okay, they cut me because I'm outspoken. They cut me because, no, you declined the contract. You know what I'm saying? You declined, so you declined $14.5 million. That disturbed me the wrong way. I'm like, bro, even if you don't want to be there, you take that money, you see if they trade you, or you just sit the year there and you do what you got to do, but you don't let that money slide. You don't know if you're going to get that money again. But in my eyes, he did. He knew he was going to make that money back. Why? Because he did this whole thing with Nike and this whole contract social injustice thing. He got this whole thing going. So in my eyes, people was like, oh, they doing Cap wrong. I'm like, no, Cap don't want to play no more. Cap don't want to play. I'm like, he wants to be a social justice warrior. You know what I'm saying? When Ray Lewis was trying to get him on the Baltimore Ravens, what happened? His girlfriend or fiance, who's not even black, gets to get up and call Ray Lewis a coon. I'm like, how you call one of the greatest Ravens of all time a coon when he's trying to get your boyfriend or fiance a job? And Kaepernick let this ride. I'm like, huh? Oh, man, don't get, you see, I'm getting stuttered just thinking about it. Like this guy, you know what I'm saying? And then everybody's seen him with the workout. Where do you get to go on a job interview and say, okay, look, we're going to hold the job interview where I want to hold it at? Like, who does he think he is?
Well, I mean, not for nothing, but Black people in a nutshell gave him the floor, right? Now, the one thing I will say is that the people that kneeled before and him kneeling now also didn't have, I don't want to say as much backlash, but as much public backlash from him kneeling. Now, granted, we throw these things around at these people as if there's some 100-year-old gray-haired wise men, right? They're like 30, they're like 35. They're, barely at an age where I look at guys now who are 35 and I'm like, bro, you're not doing nothing. You're not saying nothing. You wearing tight jeans and glitter belts. So we look at these men because they're in a public eye. We automatically assume that they're supposed to be the wisest and the smartest and transcend every type of, Black man out there. And we can't hold them. We put them on these pedestals. And then when they don't do what we want them to do, it's either you do what we want you to do, we'll build you up. You don't do what we want you to do, we're ready to cancel you, right? We're ready to knock you off your pedestal because we now don't want to believe anything that you're doing. I don't give these men as much power, even females too, like as much power as they are because I see them as people. Like you're the same age I am. I can't tell you that I'm going to go out right now and stand on a podium and, or go to my son's basketball game. And when the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem comes on, I'm going to sit down and, in my seat. Like, so I can't tell you, I can't tell you if I'm going to kneel, right? I don't know as a 35-year-old young woman that's something I'm going to do. But once they do it on a national spectrum, then it's like, boom, it's back to that. You just put your life in the limelight. We can't do nothing about that. You're going to have to take all the scrutiny that comes with it. And I agree with you. He didn't want to play. Why would you choose at that point in your life? Because it wasn't the first incident. It wasn't going to be the last incident. So why did you choose at that point in your career to kneel? That has always been my question. Like,
I can't answer that. And I'll say this. Kaepernick's initial kneeling didn't bother me. Okay. He talked at first, he was just sitting down. He didn't want to participate. And he talked to a veteran, and the veteran told him that it was disrespectful. Yeah. So then they both agreed to kneeling, because essentially kneeling is not disrespectful, but people who want to take it that way, they're going to take it that way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you kneel before a woman before you ask for her hand in marriage. You kneel before a king. So kneeling has never been in any.
You kneel at the altar.
You kneel at the altar. Right. Like kneeling has never been in any form a sense of disrespect, unless you want to take it that way. You also said something very important that goes back to what I was saying, with this whole culture we have, this cancer culture. Do what we say or you're out. Like I said, that's where I feel Black people are to a point. We're at this point now, and it's not just Black people, actually, a lot of people. I speak mostly about Black people because that's the experiences I deal with mostly, and those are my people. So that's where I mostly keep my conversations. I can talk about other people, but, this is where I keep most of my focus. So, with us, we're at this point now where it's like, do as I say, or, if you're not in this whole thing, then, it's blase blah. And we get to kick you out. We get to, act the way we want accordingly, be a martyr for us in a cause that makes no sense. And we're just going to rah with you. My main problem with Kaepernick is, you are mad. Okay, so you're upset about police brutality. Can't argue about police brutality. That's a whole different discussion, but I can understand your point because police brutality does happen, and we can't deny that, in any form of sense. But that's not the NFL's problem. The NFL didn't cause police brutality. If anything, the NFL, and that's what I keep telling people, the NFL is the only organization in the United States that makes more Black millionaires a year than any other there's no other organization on United States soil that makes more Black millionaires a year than the NFL. NBA makes maybe a larger quantity of the guys that make it, but NFL makes more Black millionaires, makes more Black people in successful positions. They got to put their body on the line, but listen, white people do the same thing. It's not about race in that sense. Don't bring the slave talk into it. They made a choice. They want to play football. And hell, if they put me out there, I'd have did it for the money. You know what I'm saying? But, I'm being what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, but, for the act like this is an NFL situation, you want to put the NFL on the line for that. That's disingenuous to me. You know what I'm saying? And then what gets white people mad about Kaepernick is, listen, other Black people, they didn't say nothing too. They didn't say nothing to no other Black person. Why? Because white people are scared to even have that conversation. So if you feel some type of way and you Black, they look at it, okay, well, listen, I'm not going to go there with you. Like, all right, brother, I respect your feelings. Like, but Kaepernick, he a hybrid, you know what I'm saying? He mixed, you know what I'm saying? And then he was raised with a white family, part of a white fraternity, you know what I'm saying? He done had every option in life that was given the best to him. You know what I'm saying? If you want to look at it in that sense. So for them, they look at it with a real disdain, like, how dare you? You know what I'm saying? And I can understand how you feel, how they feel in a sense. Listen, racism is real. But, and I had this argument with my friend the other day. There's some dude right now in the Midwest somewhere, some white dude who is not living a life. There's millions of them.
Yep.
Not living a life. You know what I'm saying? They are not living a life. They work every day hard. If they even get, they live just like us or even worse conditions. You know what I'm saying? So to sit there and look at them and say, oh, because you're white, your life is so much better, and to take this whole stance on is disingenuous and wrong, and it's going to take somebody off. Like, come on, how you going to look at somebody who's down and out, you walking around with Gucci on, talking about, oh, y'all disenfranchised us. They barely affording to get their next meal, and they're looking at you like, really? You know what I'm saying? But you're right, it's choices. But with that same choices, we have to be a little bit more honest in our conversation, and that's the problem I have with Kaepernick. Kaepernick took it to a whole nother level. What he really pissed off patriots about is when he started wearing Fidel Castro gear and stuff like that, the socks and everything. When you start doing that, now, and I try to tell people that you gotta be Black people. I realize we're not aware of politics. We're just starting to get into politics. Mm-hmm. Just recently, the last probably, Black people have been, but the last good 10 years, Black people have really been pushing ourselves more into politics. Yeah. But we still don't know a lot of politics. Like when you start wearing Fidel Castro stuff, you're wearing communist stuff. When you start wearing communist stuff, like you're gonna mess with patriot ideology, and then people are gonna go against you. A lot of things that people don't realize about Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King had a lot of communist ties. He was getting funded through a lot of communist organizations. The same with the Black Panther Party, you know what I'm saying, which led to a lot of their demises. The government's not gonna tell you that, But that's what really led to a lot of their demises. They had too much funding and too much going on with these different groups. So like I said, when we start talking out loudly and we start expressing ourselves and we don't know what's going on in the world, you know what I'm saying? Because we're the last ones to sit at the dinner table, at least especially American blacks, you know what I'm saying? We're really the last ones to come sit to the table, you know what I'm saying? We got to be more conscious of what we're doing because listen, there's our problems and there's a world fair issue going on. You know, I tell people all the time, there's a difference between nationalism and culturalism. And especially black people, we need to understand that difference.